I've owned this beautiful car for almost a year now. I'm not a journalist and this isn't a top-of-the-range press model. This is the Tesla Model 3 Standard Range Plus, and it's the car most people are going to be able to afford. So I thought it was about time that people gave it a review. This is my Tesla Model 3 Standard Range Plus review. The first thing a lot of people ask me about this car is the cost, and yes, it's expensive. It's the most expensive car I've ever bought. Before this, I had a 9-year-old Fiesta. To say this is an upgrade is an understatement. In some parts of the UK, you can buy a 2-bedroom house for the cost of this car. Yes, £40,000 is a lot to spend. But bear with me, I'm in it for the long game here, and this car probably works out cheaper for the lifetime of the ownership than a lot of combustion models that are £5,000 cheaper. When was the last time you filled up with fuel? I haven't put petrol in this for almost a year. Admittedly, it's because it's not got a petrol tank. But seriously, the electricity has cost me £25 to do 5,000 miles. Those that are quick at maths between you will work out that's less than half a penny a mile. Most new combustion engines will cost you between, I don't know, 10 or 20 pence per mile. So take whatever you spend currently a year on fuel, divide it by 10 or 20, and that's your running costs. But this is where you can be a savvy electric car owner. I've got solar panels on my roof, I get free charging at work, and I know where all the free spots are to charge around town. And if you refer a friend, you get 1,000 free supercharger miles, so even long distances don't cost you any money. Worst case scenario, I charge overnight on my 5p per kilowatt rate, which works out 1.25 pence per mile. So you could drive 10,000 miles and it costs you £125. Then there's other savings, like there's no tax on this vehicle. Servicing costs are minimal, there's not an engine. There's no oil filters or spark plugs to change. Even brake pads are meant to last 40,000 miles because of regen braking. You barely touch the brake pedal. In fact, I can't remember the last time I did. Actually, I can, it was this morning because that's the only way you can start the car. Most cars in their first year will depreciate by about 20%, but Tesla Model 3s are expected to depreciate between 5 and 10%. And that's because slowly people are catching on that combustion engines are yesterday's technology and no one would want them. Why would you? Running costs are more, taxes are set to increase, and more cities are likely to introduce congestion charges to combat higher and higher CO2 emission targets. You can probably tell I've had that conversation and tried to justify my expenditure quite often. But the point I'm trying to make is, if you're buying a new car, this car is within your reach and will probably work out cheaper for you in the long run. But it's not like you're not getting much for your money. This car is packed full of tech, and the spec is on par with most cars in this price range. And it's definitely not too bad to look at either. I knew I'd spent my money well when I first parked it. It's the only car I've ever looked back on and smiled. I wasn't that sold on the looks though when I saw it on the website. Whether the number plate has made it better or not, I don't know. I thought it looked like a fat, sad frog. This is definitely a car you want to see in person. The front end looks stunning. It has hints it's the future of the automobile without being too concept and also screaming, "Look at me, I'm electric!" And the back end, well, the back end just looks like a normal saloon, which is great because I wanted this car to fit in. I was too worried that vandals or jealous types might damage the vehicle while I'd parked it and gone away. Park this car front end in and I think it looks like any other saloon. The aero wheels are a little controversial, and they're a bit like Marmite, you either hate them or love them. If you take these off because they are only plastic hubcaps, you reveal black alloys underneath, but you do sacrifice about 10% of range, so for that reason I've left them on. Personally, I don't mind the appearance too much. And this is the only bit that kind of shouts out I'm a bit of a concept electric car. The tyres are going to be a bit more expensive to replace because they're Michelin Sport, but they've also got special foam inside that tries to reduce the road noise, which means puncture repair kits don't work. I'm in the process of buying a space saver tyre for that reason, and I'm going to keep it in the boot on long journeys. If you haven't already, go into a showroom because I think this is a car you need to appreciate in person. I've captured a lot of people looking at this car curiously on one of the features known as Sentry Mode, which uses the Autopilot cameras to record suspicious activity all around your car. It also uses those 4 cameras to record dashcam footage while you're driving on an SD card, so in the event of an accident you have everything recorded, which is highly likely considering how fast this car goes. This has a 0 to 60 of around 5 seconds, top speed of 120 mph, and at no point have I ever felt like it's struggling to get there. Not that I've done 120 mph. But at the top speed on motorways of 70 mph, it feels like it's got a lot more to give. The range on the car is rated at around 260 miles, but the faster and more erratic you drive, the lower range you're going to get. In winter, you can expect around 200 miles. What they don't tell you though is ideally you should keep your electric car charged between 20 and 80% to keep longevity in the battery. So in real terms, that means you're going to go about 120 to 140 miles without a charge, which on long journeys is absolutely fine. It's the shorter journeys around town that eat into your charge, because you'll use all that energy to heat the cabin up for it only to be lost 15 minutes later. The best way to keep warm in winter is actually use the heated seats rather than the air heater. But in the Tesla Model 3 Standard Range Plus, you don't get rear heated seats as standard. So to keep passengers warm in the winter, you're going to have to use the air heater. But that's the great thing about Tesla. They've already built the rear heated seats into the car because it saves on production costs. So for £300, I could click on my app and have rear heated seats in a matter of minutes. The rule of thumb I've come to use when it comes to energy is for every 2 miles you use about 1% charge. So if you're doing a journey of 10 miles there and back, you're going to use 10%. Remember, that's in winter though, and in summer when you're using the air conditioning, which is far less energy intensive, you'll get better range. The other issue I've got with driving around town is the size. It's just a bit too big for what I need. For long runs to the beach or trips to the airport, this car has been great for 5 mates. But I don't do that very often, so a smaller car would suit me. If you do have a large family or lots of friends though, there's plenty of leg room here in the back. And because there's no drive shaft, the middle person can actually sit with their feet flat on the floor. There's also plenty of headroom thanks to the panoramic roof, which comes as standard. I'm 5'10", and even with this quiff, I'm not touching the ceiling. Me and 2 mates went snowboarding recently and we had a lot of luggage and it all fitted in the boot. I missed the hatchback a little because the access to the boot is a bit easier, but the seats fold down and there's plenty of boot space. I can't talk about the boot space without talking about the frunk, but I feel it's a little bit gimmicky. It keeps your boot tidy by putting all your rarely used items in here, but other than that, I don't really use it. In winter, you could put beers in it to chill on the way to a party, or maybe keep your groceries cool on the way home. The other thing is the bonnet is very flimsy, and Tesla give you very strict instructions to place 2 hands here and gently press, which makes me think Tesla HQ have put their hands through the bonnet in the past. I've talked a lot so far, but haven't mentioned what it's like to drive. As I said, I'm not a car journalist, but to me, it's absolutely fine. I've driven a variety of other combustion models similar to this, and maybe their handling is slightly better, but then they were 4-wheel drive versions, and the Standard Range Plus is only a rear-wheel drive. If you were to get the long range or performance, they come as 4-wheel drive as standard. I just don't feel as confident with this car throwing it into difficult situations. Having said that, I haven't really had any difficult situations for it to handle. I just anticipate it might be a bit more twitchy in the rain and snow. I've done a few long journeys in this car, and it's got comfortable seats and lumbar support, a relaxed driving position, and with the Autopilot features, it makes driving a breeze. With electric cars, the torque is instant, and I don't get bored of leaving combustion cars behind at the line because they're just not expecting it. If I touch the accelerator, it just flies away. And to be honest, I drive most of the time in chill mode because if I forget I'm in an electric car and accidentally touch the pedal, I almost break my neck. I've now got quite a headache because I redid that shot too many times just because it was fun. And that's what I'd say about electric cars, they're just quite fun to drive. Whenever you want, you can just put your foot down and they just fly away. And it's not like you're going to be using loads of fuel doing it, it's electricity, which is cheap. Remember, this is the slow version and it's not that far behind the racy combustion models that use a letter from the latter part of the alphabet. Try saying that when you've had a few beverages. But seriously, when do you need 0 to 60 in 5 seconds anyway? I barely use it. I drive around in chill mode all the time. This car is plenty fast enough for your average person. I love the fact there's no dashboard and all I have is the open mode ahead of me. The center console has all the information you need and you can clearly see the speed limit when you need to. Yes, there's no buttons around the car, but again, I like that. It keeps the car really clean. It's got an improved voice control, so you can generally tell the car to do whatever you want anyway. And yes, you have to go into the settings to change the air vents, but how often do you change your air vents anyway? Don't forget, this car has been built to be a robo-taxi, so by removing all the buttons, they have complete control about what potential customers might use in the future through the console. If you hadn't already guessed, it's a very tech-driven car, and that's why legacy automakers are struggling to catch up. Tesla are doing to car manufacturers what Apple did to Nokia. And if you don't know who Nokia is, my point exactly. If you like tech though, just stop watching this video, go and put on your futuristic AR glasses and order this car right now because you're going to love it. Since buying this car, I've had several improvements, none of which I've had to pay for. Like a phone, you get over-the-air software updates. So since I've bought this car, I've had Netflix added, YouTube, improved auto wipers, lane markings added to driver visualization, stop signs, traffic lights, improved cruise control, and more games added. Did I mention it plays games? You can plug your PlayStation 4 or Xbox controller in. It's even got its own version of Mario Kart. But this can sometimes lead to you charging longer than you have to. If your latest Netflix series ends on a massive hook, you're going to watch the next episode. And if it doesn't have something, it probably will have in the future, or tweet Elon Musk and he'll add it for you. That's why we've got a Joe mode. Joe didn't like the bings and the bongs waking his kids up in the back. Tweeted Elon Musk. He turned the volume down, or at least gave you the option to through Joe mode. Name another car manufacturer you can tweet the CEO and they'll add features to your car for free. It all sounds too good to be true, right? There are a few quality issues with the paint, like for example when I got it there was lots of scratches around, but in Tesla's defence they did actually rectify them about 4 weeks later and I got a courtesy car while they did it. I have also got a paint issue with the bumper which I'm hoping Tesla are going to sort out for me next week. So the paint issues do leave me with a bit of anxiety, but equally I could park my car in a car park and someone could ram their door into it at any time. I think if I was to do it again I would get the Tesla Model 3 long range which does around 350 miles. But this isn't for the long journeys, this is for the shorter trips so I charge less in winter because as I said you use a lot more energy when you're just turning the heater on for a quick 15-minute drive. With the long range version you get 4-wheel drive as standard as well and I just think that will give me a little bit more confidence in the tougher weather conditions. I'm also not a big fan of the door handles, not from my point of view because I got used to them very quickly. It's more for telling your passengers you find they can't get into your car and when they come to get out they don't know what button to press and quite often end up winding the window down. But these are the only things, and as I said, I'm more than happy with this car. So what are the best bits about owning a Tesla Model 3? Well, one of the things I really like is the fact that I can walk out my house without a key. My phone is the key, and it's a seamless experience. I walk up to the car, it unlocks. I walk away, it locks itself again. And I know some people are going to say, what if you lose your phone? Well, I say, what if you lose your car key? And you do get a car key anyway. It's in the form of like a credit card that just fits in your wallet. I do take it with me on long journeys, but in the whole year I've had this car, I've not had any issues with my phone. There's also the tranquil driving it gives you. To pull away in silence is brilliant and doesn't get old. I've started to listen to classical music just because it makes it all more majestic. I'm a complete electric convert and not had any regrets about spending £40,000 on this car, and it continues to exceed expectations with more and more software updates. If I have convinced you to get one, don't forget to use my referral code to get 1,000 free supercharger miles, and I get them as well so we can be supercharger friends. This review really doesn't do this car justice. It's got loads of features, but I've had to cut them out to keep the video short. And that's one of the main reasons I've started this channel, to go in depth with all the different features this car has and the new ones it gets in the future. So if there's anything you'd like me to look at or do, write in the comments below and I'll take the most popular and start making those videos. Similarly, if I've not answered something and you've got a question, ask me and I'll try my best to answer it for you. But mainly, don't forget to subscribe, otherwise you're going to miss all those fantastic videos that I'm going to produce. And if you like this review, give it a thumbs up, because it's always nice to know what content you like and what you don't. Whether you buy a Tesla Model 3 or not, what I would say is switch to electric as soon as possible. It's not been any inconvenience to my life at all and actually made driving more pleasurable. Hopefully see you in the electric future.